Hello folks, welcome to the canal channel Jose. Today we're going to show you how we install the new fuel pump in this 78 Ford Bronco. We have taken out the old one and that's been a while, so we took that for a compare to the new one. So now that we got the right fuel pump, because they might change on the leg that goes into the engine. So with that said, we're going to show you, give you an idea how we do this install. We're going to get this truck back in the road again. So this fuel pump goes right into the side, right there on that opening. So it's a stud on the bottom and a bolt in the top, and it's held by just a nut and a bolt. And there's a gasket that goes between that and the fuel pump. So we gotta clean that area really good so there's no oil leakage from the block to the outside. And this is the gasket that we're gonna put in there. So the fuel pump is gonna be like this. So that leg goes into the block, and then that gasket right between the block and the fuel pump, and then we're going to attach the inlet and the outlet. That's the outlet of the fuel pump. So we install it like this. So first I put the gasket right in there onto the stud, so that way I just start lining up the fuel pump and slide it in. So now that we have the fuel pump right into the block, all we have to do is we have to tighten the top bolt and the bottom nut into the stud. And then you want to make sure that the gasket is in there too. So now we tighten everything. We're using a 1/2 inch wrench. So now we have installed the fuel pump right there. We tighten in the bolt and the nut. Right there is the inlet coming from the fuel tank. And on this other side, right there, is the one going out from the fuel pump going into the carburetor, which is this line. And we didn't put it in because if we're trying to maneuver the fuel pump in there, it's gonna make us work harder. So now we have to install it and tighten it. So we're putting everything like Legos. So we put this one in, and then we can continue putting the hose from the carburetor and then the fuel pump to the fuel tank. So now we put the hose into the hard line coming out of the fuel pump, and then we tighten the clamp. Now that we have installed a new fuel pump, what we're doing, we are putting the fuel filter before the fuel pump, and we're gonna replace the clamps with new ones because the old ones get stretched or were rusted. And also we're gonna be replacing some of the hose down there because it gets brittle and old, so that we don't want a fuel leak and then it's touch the exhaust manifold and it creates a fire. So we don't want that for sure. So we're gonna try to expose info because the images are gonna be it's a tight spots, but we're gonna try to expose what we're doing and how everything comes out. So now what we have done is we have pre-made the hoses, or we have pre-installed the hoses to the fuel filter. So sometimes you can't just fight everything in there one by one. You have to kind of put together stuff outside and then install it. So we're going to attach it to the fuel pump on this end and to the coming from the tank on this other end. So that way we don't fight the filter in there because it's plastic. So with that, we install this and we tighten the clamps, and that should be done the process of this fuel pump replacement. Then we have installed the fuel pump, connected it, and we have installed the fuel filter right there. So now we can all we need is just to start the engine now. So we can start throwing some fuel in the carburetor and then get the fuel from the tank getting sucked over by the fuel pump so it can make it to the carburetor. Well folks, hopefully this video was useful and helpful how to install a fuel pump in a 78 Ford Bronco, and this is for the older Ford engines, and they're located into the engine. These fuel pumps go into the block, so they work as the crank. It rotates and it makes these fuel pumps operate. So that's why they go in the engine. A more simpler replacement than the fuel pumps that go in the fuel tank, because those you have to drop the fuel tank or you have to remove something to get to it. And on these ones, you just gotta get in the engine compartment, take your time, remove it, and install it. It's a pretty simple replacement. So we wanted to give you an idea how these older trucks take the fuel pump into it. So we're doing this replacement because we're gonna get this truck back in the road. So you're gonna be seeing more videos about this truck more often, because we're going to be upgrading some of the components on this truck. So we're starting with a fuel pump. And well, folks, hopefully this video was useful and helpful. And for our friends who are watching the video and haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you like your video, give us thumbs up, share it, and we'll see you soon with more videos here on el canal El Chano Jose.